Hello, everyone. Welcome to an episode of Kiki with me. I'm your host, Kaylin. I'm just your friendly neighborhood Black bisexual girl. And today I am super excited because I have probably one of the best guests ever. I have Cel Wilson, the founder of Keys for Life, which is not only a music school, it's a music school centered on Black and queer artistry to enhance and elevate performance. So, yeah, I'll let them talk a little bit about themselves and how awesome they are. So.
Hello. Yeah, I'm Cel, and that's what I do. I'm a surprisingly in a space where now I'm an entrepreneur and kind of doing all the fun stuff. But I feel like more of an educator at heart. Like it's. I've been in the music education space for like over 10 years at this point, so it feels more comfortable to think of myself as an educator as opposed to a business owner. But having to shift gears.
That's really cool. Well, what made you want to start Keys for Life? Like, how did that get started?
Um, well, I worked, like I said, I've been a music educator for about 10 years. And originally, I was in a lot of spaces that weren't necessarily catered to the Black experience or the queer experience. And I found that the more I started to teach my students music that made sense for me to teach and stuff that I knew I could teach well, I realized I was getting a lot more resistance and I was getting a lot more people who were not comfortable with the style of music that I was trying to promote and trying to educate others on. And also, I just realized that, hey, like the Black and queer communities have already done a lot of work over our musical history to bring um, a level of excellence into our craft. Like we've already done a lot of the work to be excellent. And the fact that we're not using these things as tools to educate each other and to educate the next generation is crazy. Because the level of like technical skill that you have to sing in a style like R&B or like gospel is so high, and it takes a real amount of skill and dedication to the craft to do it well. And I think that's something that needs to be celebrated and acknowledged. And so I decided, like, hey, if I'm seeing that this is an issue and that whenever I try to, teach from these styles, it's not really received, why don't I just make my own space? And so I did. And it's been a crazy but fun ride.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds incredible, to be totally honest. And I feel like I am really inspired when I do hear about, I'm like, there are people doing such incredible things.
Yeah.
And I feel like they don't get enough highlight and spotlight. It's like, I know there are amazing people out there doing great stuff. And then I look and I'm like, find your website. And I'm like, how did I not know? How did I not know that this was happening?
Yeah.
But you say it's been like a crazy but fun ride. What are maybe some of the crazier things that you feel like have happened?
Well, this year, 2024, can I say 2024?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know it's
Be
going to
out
come
this
out
week.
like later, but it truly has been a very explosive year for me. I was still working as a public educator this last school year, so 2023 going into 2024. Um, and my partner noticed that there was a very significant shift for me this last school year and was like, hey, you're not happy doing this anymore. Like, there's a lot of joy that has left you. And he essentially was like, if you decide to quit, I will support you and I will make sure that everything is fine and that we'll be okay financially, all the rest. And so I did. Like, I just kind of trusted a little bit. And there were so many other doors that were opening up for me that allowed the opportunity for me to be like, I think this is the right time. And I think this is the right move. And so I quit my job and didn't have health insurance for some time, and it was real scary. um, I have health insurance again now, so that's really, really great.
We have health insurance.
Health insurance, girl, please get it. Uh, but yeah, just kind of ended up having that transition, and immediately had so many opportunities open up to me. Had so many other organizations that were willing to support and work with me. Um, and I've done now a small handful of events here in Tulsa, but each and every one of them has been very powerful for me and has again confirmed that I'm walking on the right path and I'm doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing on this earth. And again, just like bringing to light and centering the efforts of Black and queer artists and their ingenuity in music, and just centering that as like that foundation for music literacy and for performance. Um, and so even with having a very sudden now transition of moving into a permanent location for my business and like that being its own, crazy ride, of just talking to those owners and being a community with them and really trying to get things to move and work forward. It's just things have been happening so rapid and so fast, and it's good, but it is very chaotic and it's very crazy for someone like me who's like, I'll just slow down and like take bit by bit and not really do too much all at once. But very very good stuff, but again, very crazy.
Wow, it sounds like the universe was like, it's trying to manifest for you. It's opening the doors. You just need to walk through.
That part right
there. You just need to walk through. Yeah. That's beautiful. I love that for you. Well, I guess I already asked you kind of the challenge, but what has been maybe a rewarding part that's really stuck out in your mind that made you go, oh, I am doing the right thing?
Honestly, it may have been this Thanksgiving season.
Really?
I don't really celebrate Thanksgiving anymore.
Understandably.
Yep. It's not really a kind of holiday that I really want to say I celebrate.
For sure.
But one of my students heard that I wasn't really going to be doing anything with family.
Mm-hmm.
And she made the decision to bring me a plate for Thanksgiving. And like, right. For real, like little tear immediately. She literally brought me a plate, and it was just so heartwarming to have that moment where I'm used to pouring out and, of course, giving to my students and making sure that they are in community and that they are experiencing the things that they need to be their fullest selves, and to really exist as who they need to exist as. And every now and then it'll happen that a student will do something that's kind of reflective of the community that I am building through my business. And it's moments like that that just remind me, like, yeah, you're truly walking on that right path. And like you said, universe is opening up doors that like you have to trust the process and you have to just recognize and acknowledge, hey, you couldn't have done this. You couldn't have, created all these situations and created all these moments on your own. And yeah, that truly was like very, very rewarding to just have her just recognize, hey, let me just give back in a small way. And like, let me just contribute to your joy and to your peace and to your, the love of your home. Yeah, that was really, really amazing. Shout out Mama J, because she fixed that plate, and it was good too. That's the thing.
Like your collard greens, baby.
right. And
I know you're taking a set. Listen,
she gave me the greens. She gave me a whole pie, a whole she gave me so much, and I was just.
That's someone's mother. That's someone's aunt. That's someone's when they come with a grocery bag and they said, I went to the farmer's market. I know you know how to prep this.
Mm-hmm. Like, do what you need to do.
Do what you need to do. And I got you. Mm-hmm. You will be fed. That is so beautiful. Do you feel like also, is that not small town or small city, but I do feel like even though you gave a service, right? Mm-hmm. And you know that you're giving a service and you already said that you're good at giving. I do feel like there is almost a homey quality and a very really personal, interpersonal relationship when it comes to the small town, almost like more than niceties. Does that make any sense? So someone like bringing you a plate of Thanksgiving is they're like, well, no, that baby needs some collard greens, even if they don't want to celebrate, like they should have a plate and they're doing all these good stuff. Like, do you feel like that's a byproduct of smaller towns and smaller cities, or do you think it's just like the community as a whole, like the queer community? I
think it's a mixture of the two. I think my personal thought is you get out of community what you put in. And I feel like when you recognize the need for reciprocity and the need for living in community, it becomes a lot easier for moments like that to be created. Because I think you're right. There is a level of just like cultural nicety that happens like in our area. But I think it's also relevant to recognize that doesn't happen all the time. And even though that's the cultural thing to do, it doesn't always happen. And I think it's also just a part of the way I wanted my business to be in the way that I wanted to create um, not just a space for people to learn music, but actually a space for people to be in community with each other. Because there's a lot of us. Let me slow down because my brain is just like, oh my gosh, there's so much that I can think
No,
about.
you're good.
Like I remember thinking through the amount of students I've had who have said they were told very damaging things about their own voice,
Mm.
and the way that they sang was not preferable. And so over time, I've learned, okay, yes, I'm teaching music. Yes, I'm doing this thing. But there's also a major healing aspect to restoring the beauty of what they do in the way that they decide to do it, in the way that their body already creates music. Um, and then that healing process needs to come back in. And like you have to remember the joy that you bring, not just to yourself, but to other people, is healing for them. And we have to forgive the people who maybe have said really negative things, maybe forgive ourselves for co signing the negative things that people have said. And then we start to move forward into like actually loving ourselves in a very holistic and full way, and loving other people because we can see their gifts and their talents. And I think there is a level of cultural community that happens here, but I think moments like that are done with intentionality. That when you decide to live in a communal way, you end up reaping the benefits of community.
My notes because you're gonna make me cry, and this is supposed to be light and cute. We're talking about music and
You
and the girls and stuff.
look, when you gotta teach people and work with people's lives, it's cute for a minute, but then I'm gonna get, we gonna get to some real stuff.
I know. Ugh, not crying. Worked too hard on my concealer for that.
Cute too, like.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Full beat. You know what's crazy too to me is that sometimes I'll do my makeup and it's like people will be like, "Your skin looks so nice," and I'm like,
Do you know?
"This is a full, this
A
is a
full
full
face.
beat. This is a full." But they will try to be like, "Your skin is so glowing," and I'm like, "Anywho,
Thank you, but
but
also,
I'm gonna try not to be a liar. This is a
know.
full beat. Okay, this is
I
Preston.
did a good job.
Okay, this is
I
Preston.
did a good job.
I did a good job.
Like,
This is Preston.
Let's be real.
No, I really appreciate you and the spaces that you're creating. And I think that a lot of people, in particular in Tulsa, that are creating a lot of really beautiful queer spaces. And I want to have more, I think, visibility and like bringing a lot of those, even small pockets together. Because I feel like I see a lot of queerness here, but I almost feel like they really are in pockets. And I don't see them as conjoined together or like coming together as much as I would hope they would.
Mhm.
Do you see that? If so, why do you think that is?
I feel like I am seeing it happen. It's a slow process, but I see it happening.
Okay.
For example, I grew up here. I was born and raised here in Tulsa.
Same.
And I remember I went to back in I want to say it was 2022 or 23. Black Queer Tulsa, which is a local organization here, did a diamond ball. And the leader, Daniel, said, I started this whole organization because growing up here, there was no community like this. There was no space for the intersection of Blackness and queerness to meet and for that to be celebrated. And I co-signed that. Like growing up here, I definitely was not, I was not welcoming or accepting of my own queerness, but even paying attention and keeping an eye out for those kinds of spaces, none of them existed. And so I see slowly over time, organizations like Black Queer Tulsa actually standing up and creating those spaces and bringing the people together and making sure that there is a safe environment for us to really tap in with each other and feel the love that we're deserving of and the space to actually exist as our truest selves. I think it's a lot harder to do when you experience a culture like Tulsa, Oklahoma, that maybe isn't as accepting or welcoming to queerness, to Blackness. And I think it's a lot easier to isolate than it is to be in community. And so I think I think, again, the change is happening, the necessary steps are being taken. And I think people are standing up like you who are like, hey, like we need to like actually acknowledge this and we need to actually do something about it, not just like keep saying what needs to happen, but actually step forward and do something. And I see that change happening. And I see people who are willing to be a lot more direct and a lot more comfortable with standing up for truth and standing up for what's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I agree. And I feel like even in the process of like starting this podcast, this show, and like reaching out to a lot, I even uncovered like more, like I knew you, but I was like, I didn't know Keys for Life. I was like, how do I not know that? And then I found even more queer kind of, maybe even if they're a little bit more like underground, like queer organizations either in or near this area. And so I was like, how are we not like in one conjoined front? But it is hard to, I think I'll probably always say this on here, but like it's really hard to feel comfortable also coming together in a big way. Because it's like, and maybe a little more progressive in Tulsa than outlying areas, but it is still under the understanding, you know, to tread lightly, if you will.
The
toleration, yes. And I think even more so, the intersection of being Black and also being queer is such a difficult and complex dichotomy that it is hard to translate to people all the time, because we really don't have a lot of explicit space anywhere really, but in particular it's hard to see that, because I think when I see representation in Tulsa of queerness, it's not particularly Black a lot of the time. There is Black queer representation, but I feel like the people who are the most out and proud here are white. And that's probably most places, but it doesn't make it any less difficult for sure.
It's a part of why my friend Mia and I decided to kind of just step up and volunteer for Black Queer Tulsa and just offer our giftings and services to be facilitators of like mental wellness for them. Because you're right, like it's very hard to be at that intersection of both Blackness and queerness and not really have the resources that you need to live a very full life. To not have the community, to not have the resources, to not have like the access to mental wellness services, like whatever it is, it's hard to be at that intersection and not be equipped to live a full life. And you're right, like a lot of the spaces here in Tulsa are predominantly white. This is a very predominantly white space. And it's challenging to see that as quote unquote the norm when your norm is yourself. Your norm is your lived experiences. So yeah, I think it's important work. And I think a lot of us have the urge to maybe like tap out sometimes and leave and be like, I can find, you know, a better space. I can go to somewhere like New Orleans, or I can go to Atlanta, or I can go like, it's a lot more logical to do something like that, to like self-preserve. But I think there is important work to be done here. And I think that there is a really important role in sticking around and creating these spaces that you want to see.
No, I completely agree. And I think that like we're both born and raised here. We're like the same age. And I think that my instinct when I got out of high school was to want to run.
Yes.
Oh my God. I was like, I want to run.
Absolutely.
But I had so many like life moments that kept me here. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here one more year. And I've come to this point where I'm like, actually, everything in my life has kind of led me to points where I needed to be where I was. And I just had a hard time with that at first, but I was like, I think I now appreciate everything that I have and like where I've come from and where I still am. And it's almost like I'm seeing the 360 of my life and where I've been and where I'm at now and where I could be in the future. And I hold a lot more gratitude and a lot more, I think, respect and understanding for not only the place that raised me, but the people here that raised me and like the culture that is here. And the culture that I actually want to nurture. And I didn't think I would want to nurture it. I was like, I'm just going to nurture myself. And that's going to be not here. It's here. It's going to be in New York. And I'm like, well, New York's expensive and they have big rats and the smog is crazy. And it's like, I would be living on top of other people. But I'm like, no, there are. And I think there is something so poignant about like, there are queer people here, but there's queer people everywhere.
Right.
It's like, do you want to nurture the people that are here? You don't have to want to. But that doesn't mean that, I think there's also this idea that everyone has the option of like leaving their family or
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean?
Right.
There are so many people who are like, well, yeah, like I live in Iowa, but I'm still queer and I'm still cool and I'm still,
Right.
you know, all these things.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there is a bigger narrative of like, if you can't get out,
Mm-hmm.
then, you know, you kind of fade away to the background. And I just don't feel like that's true. It's like nurture where you're at,
Mm-hmm.
nurture the people that are where you're at.
Yeah. And it also makes me think about people like Next. I know they've gotten a lot of attention from their killing, their murder earlier this year. But it makes me think of stuff like that, where it's like we do need to be present for the next generation and for people who are just now coming into their own queerness and who maybe don't yet have the language to understand even what this life has offered them. And it is really important to, yes, absolutely, like what you're describing, like, yes, let me nourish me and let me, pour into me. But I think it's also true to also what you said of like, let me create that space and let me do what I need to do to like, you know, preserve what can be preserved and protect what needs to be protected.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I understand everyone who's like, I hear and respect that. I'm going to still get in my car and I'm going to go
Yep.
to San Diego.
Absolutely.
I totally respect that as well. But I'm like, if you have it in you to do the work where you're at and you have family and people that you care about there and friends and stuff like that, maybe look into, the community that you have where you're at. Okay. You did, just to back up, because we've gone on a couple of tangents, but like, just to back up. So everyone who's maybe listening or watching this, I knew Cel because I went to a workshop that him and, as he already mentioned, a friend of his and a friend of mine, Mia, did during Pride. That was like a Black-centered wellness event that was so cool and so amazing and very connective and healing and restorative. But you say you have a music background. What got you into like more of the mental wellness space with Mia, and how did that come about?
That honestly about through her work. Honestly, she is very much so a holistic healer. She has her own doula business, a birthing doula business, and truly enlightened me to a lot more of holistic practices and things that I knew I was searching for and needed in my life, but again, just didn't quite have the language for. And I definitely went through a very severe depression back around like 2018. And it was through that time that I realized, like, okay, like mental health is very serious and very real. And I am a very much so living example of that. But she kind of was a catalyst for my own journey into really recognizing the need for mental wellness in the Black queer community, and kind of connected all the dots of like, well, yes, like this is one aspect of why humans need to be mentally well. Here's another aspect of it. But here's like the thread that ties everything together. And it was through her educating me in a lot of different ways that I realized, oh, okay, this is really, really important. And we really do have a lot of work to do in a space like Tulsa, where, again, we are the buckle of the Bible Belt, and we live in a very, not that there's anything wrong inherently with Christianity or organized religion. Redact organized religion, because I personally have my calls with that. But there's nothing wrong with practicing any religion. But I think in a space like Tulsa, where it is culturally the norm and not necessarily the heart of the teachings is the norm, I think there's space for a lot of damage to happen. And I think that can connect to why a lot of us in the Black queer community have this need for mental wellness to be the center of a lot of what we do, and to recognize our own value, to recognize our own worth, and to rebuild a lot of the stuff that has been torn down. And so it was just a lot of conversation with her and just like interacting with her that she, again, connected all those dots for me. And through, again, a lot of like self-work and a lot of, practicing some real intensive crying sessions while journaling stuff and all the shadow work. Because look, it's hard.
It's so hard.
But through all of that, just kind of started to see those trends and recognize all the connecting threads for other people as well. And then just saw that, hey, like there's a space that we can fill and we can help out and we can, give back. So that really is like how it all started. Just kind of me recognizing, yeah, I get sad and really depressed sometimes. But there's support and there's community and there's love, and you just have to tap into it.
For real. We all get sad.
Yeah.
Like, sadness is...
Like, look, okay, small, I know we keep going on these tangents, but small tangent.
No, go for
I'm
it.
sick and tired of this sun not being present. Like, I used to kind of like winter, but not anymore because it finally clicked that the sun disappears.
You don't like weather? You're not into that?
I have thoughts.
Oh.
I have concepts of a thought when it relates to winter.
That's fair.
Well, I don't really think of her. She doesn't really,
I just can't get down the icy streets. As someone who's
Yeah.
already a nervous driver,
Yeah.
I do not like being on the road. I do not like being on the road with other people, especially when there's ice, when there's slick. No, it's not for me. But I can't lie. I love a rainy moment. I really do.
I feel that. I feel the rain. Like springtime is cool.
Okay, I can see that.
I like, a little drizzle, a little chilly.
Yeah,
with
just
the
a
drizzle,
little, like a good cardigan
a
moment.
good cardigan, a good blanket.
Yeah,
a
but not I
throw.
have to put on long johns under my regular clothes. That's understandable. That's completely understandable. No, yeah, I get it. The it doesn't help. It really doesn't. Okay, well, the fun questions for you now, because I feel like we got the heavy stuff out of the way, and you're such an amazing guest, and you're so articulate, but I knew you would be.
Thank you.
It's like, exactly. I'm just going to keep letting Cel talk. So, okay, in your opinion, what's the worst zodiac sign to date? Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to ask everyone this if they come on here.
Oh, no, because I know I'm going to catch fire for this.
Maybe only 3 people will ever watch this, and one of them will be the person who will...
Right. Well, first of all, I have to say that I am a Cancer sun and a Cancer moon.
Wait, I'm a
And a
Cancer
Scorpio
rising.
rising.
Oh.
So, like...
That's like intense.
I got a lot of water.
But that's kind of beautiful. It's expressing emotionality.
It's really balanced. Like, I understand what I'm thinking and feeling.
Exactly.
And I can sometimes articulate that. My partner maybe doesn't think so in his own way.
Okay.
But worst sign to date. I would have to say,
Wow.
I know, because I don't want to step on toes. I really don't. I would probably have to say,
Do you want me to go first?
yes.
Well, because I'm so sorry to your Cancer son, but I usually say Cancers.
Yeah, because
I
okay.
think so beautiful
Yes.
when it's beautiful.
Mhm.
When it's not,
And that is the truth. I was gonna say an Aries.
ooh, okay. I
And
can get
here's
behind
why.
that.
I have a theory, and I will stand 10 toes down on this theory until the day I die.
Okay.
Water signs are not the emotional ones. It's the fire signs.
That's so true.
They're the emotional
No,
ones.
that's so true. Leos are self-destructive, self-absorbed, like, but they're also so cool. I'm not even gonna lie. Like,
Right. They're
sometimes
very
being
cool.
being in a Leo's orbit, sometimes I'm like, yeah, we're in a movie. Like,
Mhm.
this is
Yep.
amazing.
You are literally the main character.
But they will leave you on the side of the road
Mhm.
if they need to. And it's like, you just have to accept that. But no, I'm a Sagittarius. We're very emo.
Yeah.
We're just quick to anger, quick to frustration, quick to passion and emotion. And then you just gotta like swaddle us in it.
I feel like the water signs, like, we definitely are tapped in with our emotions.
Very, yeah.
We can understand them. I don't think that we are as reactive as.
Okay. So from my perspective, and this is from someone who I have a lot of Pisces in my life and I love them dearly. I actually find that I have really close relationships with people who are either Pisces or they have some type of like Cancer placement or something like that. Scorpios, I like a Scorpio.
Yes.
But one thing I find about like real water sign people, and just in my opinion, is that while they can be so nurturing and emotionally tapped and they can be so, I think, giving with their emotionality, I also feel like sometimes they can use it against you because they know that you don't even really understand your emotions right now. So if they need to, they can weaponize this against you and you won't even know and even figure it out until a lot later.
It's a
No,
little
we
toasty.
cannot. Bring down the burner. Do you know what you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I do.
No, listen, I have a lot of Pisces in my life. I've kind of called them out on it because I'm like, you guys are such beautiful people. But now I'm hip to the game that I think sometimes you're emotionally manipulating me just a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit.
Like, here's the tiny bit.
Yeah.
It's just
but
a
I'm a
little.
Sagittarius, and I already know that we do have some suspect characteristics, and I'll leave that there for the moment. Do you have a weird or interesting coming out story? Because I don't.
It's not necessarily. I'm trying to think of how much I want to go into this.
Ooh, fair.
So like 2018, I was like super depresso espresso, and thankfully was wise enough to go into therapy at that time. And I remember talking to my therapist, and literally she asked in one of the sessions if I would ever like come out to my parents, and I was like, well, no, like not at least anytime soon, because I don't really see that. I know my parents well enough to know how they would respond, and I don't really want them kind of problems at this particular stage of my life, right? I literally get home. My mom's home early from work. Doesn't really happen too often, but every now and then it does. And full stop, like she's like, hey, what's going on? Like, let's talk. And you're not going to leave this conversation until you tell me what's going on. And I was like, oh, like you're like tapped in. You know what's happening. So she ends up, kind of pulling the truth out because I was like holding on, just not wanting to let it go. And she was, we talked about it for a little bit. Well, fast forward maybe like 7 to 8 days. And she was like, hey, like I need you to actually like now start telling other people in the family because like I can't hold on to this anymore. And I was like, oh.
What's your mom's sign?
Cuspy. She's a cusp between a Libra and a Virgo. Yeah.
Intriguing.
So.
She said, I did my best. I
Right.
gave you
I did what I could.
5 business days.
Yeah, so that ended up sparking a whole lot of conversations. So, yay. Don't go to therapy because your therapist might, trigger some
stuff. And
some
now
stuff for your
you have to
family.
get your marketing together
Right.
in 5 to 6 days because your mom can't keep it in no more.
Yep.
My God, that's so interesting. Yeah, I have like no I literally, the people that I did feel the need to quote unquote come out to, they literally said to me almost verbatim, well, we figured.
Okay.
And I was like,
I hate that. Like,
yeah, great. No, that's cool.
yeah.
I was like, I'm bi, right? They were like, well, yeah, we figured. And I was like, okay.
It's fine.
And I told them all at different times. And they were like, literally verbatim, that's what they said.
Oh my God.
And then my brother asked me if he could like borrow $50. And I was like,
Great. Thanks for the support.
I know. But honestly, that was kind of the reactions that I would have wanted to that situation to be. Oh, who sparked your gay awakening? It doesn't have to be like even a celebrity or a real person. It could be someone in your real life. It could be whoever.
Oh, that's a great question, actually. Who did spark it? Because I've thought about this before, and I feel like I came to an answer, but now I'm blanking.
Had a weird, I think, type when I was very little, which I don't have anymore. Not really, but because I've never dated anyone like this, but it was like dark hair, light eyes. So it was everyone from like Shigo from Kim Possible to like Angelina Jolie, Laura Croft, Tomb Raider. Like that was for some reason it switched something. But like, have I ever dated anyone like that? No, and I'm not even particularly like if I see them in public, but something about little Kaylin, she was like, I don't know, I think Shigo's just a good person and we just don't understand her.
Oh man, I remember like being in elementary school, and it was basically just like thinking, I really want to be this guy's friend. Like, I want to be like
Oh.
really great friends with him. Really great friends.
That's so cute.
Like I didn't understand until later that I was like, oh girl, you.
I just think we should be best friends
Right.
and buy a house
Yep.
and garden and start Roth IRAs. Like, at
Right.
the same
Just share
time.
everything together
Share
all the
everything.
time.
I think we should knit sweaters together. That's really cute, actually.
Yeah.
Do you remember what they looked like?
I remember they were like, I went to like a predominantly white school, so I'm assuming they probably was a white boy.
God, the
Which is
trauma of the
kinda-
white boys. I don't know if we have time to talk about the trauma of the white boys. That I
Because I just talked about it in therapy last Friday. Like,
Did you really?
Yes.
I might bring you back if you're open to coming back for another
Look.
episode. We can talk about the trauma of the white boys on the queer
And I'll
community.
be honest, I'm dating one right now. I know. He's really healing though.
You know
He's
what?
really helping things out. He's flipping the table, and I was like, I didn't know that this was possible.
Not a colonizer.
No, for real.
My best friend and I, we joke a lot that we'll like text each other and be like, what if we end up with a colonizer? What if we end up with like a white person? And I'm like, well, it's possible. You know, we do date inside and outside of our races and stuff like that. But we are both kind of like, that might be.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
the
I told my
trauma.
sister too, like, it was maybe like a year before I even met my partner, and I was like, I couldn't date a white person. I couldn't marry a
Right?
white person because, like,
Sometimes.
I'm gonna want to come home and mask off. Like I don't want to filter.
You're going to hear some
You're gonna say
crazy
some-
stuff.
I'm gonna say some wild stuff.
They're going to be like,
right. But again, like, he's been very healing in that aspect that I have been able to mask off, and like he's been like, I support. Oh,
beautiful.
okay.
Beautiful. Yeah, because I will. It won't be like totally, but you have to be okay with like I'll call you colonizer every once in a while. Like you got to be okay with that.
Yep.
I need to be free. I need to be able to
Fully free.
Say how I feel
On a
Oh
regular
my
basis.
God. On a regular basis. Honestly, as long as it's a good man, I don't actually really care the color that they come in. Oh, unpopular gay opinion. Unpopular opinion maybe about the gay community, the queer community.
Oh.
I feel like I'm bisexual. I feel like sometimes women loving women or lesbians are like, we are so emotionally like, you know, mature. And I think to an extent, yes, but I'm also like, but y'all move in so quick and then you break up even quicker. And then it's a situationship for another year and a half. And then y'all dating each other's friends and then it can get complicated, which is nothing wrong with that. But I'm like, I think it's, I don't know. I'm like, is that really the way?
I feel like there's other ways.
There are other ways.
There are other opportunities.
But I'm
to
also
exist.
like a Sagittarius and we like to be like, fly away. We're not particularly committed, I don't think.
I mean,
I
if it's right, it's right, and if it's not, you can reimagine.
mean, what's your unpopular? Do you have one?
For a while, it's changing. I'm not going backward on what I said earlier, but from my experience, Tulsa kind of has one of the lower gay communities that I've had, or like kind of situations. Because again, it always leads back to racism. But I have had a lot better experiences in a lot of different ways.
Oh,
In other places.
clock that. Well, I'm not particularly surprised about that's not.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's unpopular.
I don't. Yeah, that's not unpopular.
Is your man from
He
Tulsa?
is, surprisingly.
Oh.
Like, nothing about him was expected. Nothing at all. I was just like, where did you? Which, funny enough, actually, literally, me and I literally manifested him. A little ritual.
I need y'all to do that for me.
Look, we got you.
Look,
Just give us a time and a date. We're gonna do it on a full moon,
don't
super
even,
moon.
because then I show up to y'all house and you're
Okay.
like, oh, she's here. She brought stuff with her and everything. Okay. Well, is there anything? I will give you back some of your time for the day. Oh my God, that sounded so corporate. I'm gonna give you back your time for the day.
Thank you for this one-on-one.
Thank you for this one-on-one. We'll circle back to this next
For the
week.
synergy that we've created.
Oh my gosh. No, but seriously, like, thank you so much for like coming and talking and chilling with me.
Thank you
I really
for having me. This has been amazing. Like, first time like on that like podcast type environment. Like, this is great. I love this. We should do this more often.
Honestly, I'm like, you should come back. No, we should do this next week.
Please.
And it's like, maybe.
Because I need other guests. Like, I can't have the same person over and over.
They'll be like, this is the weirdest podcast ever. It was supposed to be rotating guests, but then she just has this one guest every week.
Over and over.
And over. And it's like, is this a co-host now?
Mm-hmm. Allegedly. Okay, no, but thank you seriously so much for coming and honestly sharing so much of your like story and how honestly awesome you are and sharing it with whoever watches this. Is there anything else you want to say? Well, if you are in the Tulsa area, I am starting a Black queer choir, a Black queer community choir. And we're hoping to get it up and running here in January.
January 2025.
2025. So yeah, if you want to come through, like hit me up on Instagram or Facebook or just email me or text me. And we can get you information for all that. And if you want lessons, whether if you're like in Tulsa or not, I give lessons. And if you want a free one, just say like, hey, I watched the podcast and I want my free lesson. I teach voice and piano and songwriting, and I teach a little bit of guitar too. I'm not the best guitarist, but I can teach it. But yeah. And come to a BQT event. Like if you're in Tulsa, come.
Black Queer Tulsa event,
Because
seriously.
they really are the best. Like hands down.
They really are. They're quite fun. They're very fun. All right. Well, thank you so much, Cel, for coming. I'll link any of those links for Cel and Keys for Life in the description of this podcast. But thank you for tuning into this episode of Kiki with me. I'm Kaylin. Stay cute, stay queer. I will see you in the next episode. Bye. Ciao for now. Bye.